to let us know when we go live?
Yes, we are live now.
Okay, let's start. Welcome everybody to the latest installment of the USINPAC Presidential Dialogue Series. Today we are with a representative of the presidential campaign of Martin O'Malley, who of course is the former Democratic governor of Maryland, former mayor of Maryland, been active for a long time. I think he was actually involved in the 1988 presidential election, very hard as a staff member. And today we are joined by a very senior representative of the campaign, Ms. Karine Jean-Pierre. Karine, thanks for joining us.
Hi, everyone. It's very exciting to be on. Thank you so much for having me. I got to tell you, I've never done Google Hangout, so learning something new every day, which is exciting. But yes, so my name is Karine. Manish, thank you for the introduction. My name is Karine Jean-Pierre. I am the Deputy Campaign Manager for Political and Field for the campaign. I've been with the O'Malley campaign hack in I think April or May, and then just kind of rolled into the campaign into this position. Just to give you a little bit about for the last 15-20 years, my last presidential campaign, I actually was in the White House with President Obama, worked in his political affairs shop, and then did the 2008 campaign, lived out in Chicago. So I've done national presidential world for some time, but started all of this in New York City doing local politics, and then kind of branched out into the national world. I'm looking forward to this conversation. I love talking about Martin O'Malley, especially since he's my boss, and he's the one that I chose to work for this time around, this cycle, for many reasons. A lot of it is for his progressive views, for his executive experience, and I've gotten to know him when I was at the White House. I got to know him, and thought, really believed that he would be a great president. About that matter to everyday people. Just what he did on immigration reform, I thought was pretty amazing. How he really upped and elevated education and made that a priority when he was governor. And so I think those things are what we need to lead our country forward. You know, I think someone who worked on President Obama's so worked in the White House, what I'm looking for and what I was looking for, and I believe, is someone who can continue what Obama did and take us forward, right? We talk about, the governor talks a lot about new leadership, and I think we need that. We need someone who's going to take us forward, not backward, not back to the old, but forward vision and pushing the agendas, the progressive agendas that he has actually executed, all the actions that he's actually done, but also where we're taking it further where Obama left it. So.
Questions from the community, and before we get into those, I just want to talk a little bit about USINPAC, and we are a bipartisan organization representing 3 million Indian Americans throughout the country. We've been around for over a decade, and in fact, we've engaged with both with Democratic and Republican presidential candidates since 2004. So we were active in 2004 election, 2008, 2012, and now again in 2016. What we're doing is engaging with these candidates to talk about issues important to the Indian American community. And for our audience out there, as many of you know, one of the many reasons why presidential campaigns reach out to us is, even though we're 3 million Indian Americans throughout the country, we have a strong and most strategic representation in several of the early caucus and primary states, and also several of the swing states. And these numbers are from 2010, so these are old, and they've surely increased. But in Iowa, which has the first caucus, we have over 11,000 as of 2010, including Indian Americans who have run for state and federal office and have won at the state office level. In New Hampshire, we have close to 10,000 as of 2010, and that's surely increased. And again, we have candidates who have run for state level and who have won. South Carolina, about 16,000. Nevada, almost 12,000. Ohio, 64,000. 124 to 128,000. List those numbers out to show that, and especially in a close presidential election where every state's electoral votes count and every
That's right.
election within the state is important, we're able to make a difference. So thank you for joining us, and thanks for being a part of our dialogue series. And I'd like to go into questions, and our first question is actually from the chairman and the founder of USINPAC, Mr. Sanjay Puri, who's in Washington, D.C.
Oh, great.
So actually, Sanjay will have, we might have to increase his volume a little bit. Actually, I'm going to step in and ask Sanjay's first question, if you don't mind. And it's going to be, it's actually a business question. And it's about small businesses mostly, because many Americans are entrepreneurs, including, it's been for several years now, it's been a consistent percentage for several years now, where about 15%, if not more, of startups in Silicon Valley are actually Indian American owned. And you know, that's startups, we have executive level positions at mid-sized, large companies, a variety of industries. We wanted to discuss how a Martin O'Malley would affect entrepreneurs and small business owners.
Yeah, and I think I was saying earlier. I got to turn. Hold on, getting really bad feedback. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Hello?
Yep, can you hear us?
Yeah, okay. So as I was saying before, first of all, I just want to tell everybody, look, I come from, I am a new American, I'd like to say, is what we like to say on the campaign. I come from a Haitian background, and both my parents are from Haiti, and I came here when I was about 6 or 7 years old, and so, I think what you guys are doing and what you guys are talking about is I totally understand. My family background. It resonates with me, and so it's amazing what you guys have done as a community with this PAC and how you're pushing forward your community in a very positive light, and it's really great to see. So once again, thank you for having me on. So when O'Malley was governor in his administration, he launched some bold plans to bring new high-paying jobs to Maryland in biotech and cybersecurity, establishing Maryland's leadership in the nation for innovation and entrepreneurship. So he's been a leader on that, and understands how important it is for small business. So under this leadership, Maryland was the top state for economic security, for women, with large percentage of women-owned businesses than in any other state in America. He was forward-looking, had a forward-looking approach to business and entrepreneurship, including recognizing climate change, which he sees as a huge way forward to really creating jobs. The plan that we put forward with climate change could create 5 million jobs. So this has been something that he's been a leader in as governor. He has had forward-looking plan on all of this, and he believes in civic tech pitch competition during campaign and engaging young innovators, and continue to do so as president, which he did as governor. So this is something that has been front and center, and he's actually done it. Once again, actions, not words, as we've been saying on our campaign, things that he's done as governor that he'll do as president.
So climate change is a business opportunity. I know you mentioned that. Could you expand on that?
Yeah. Under our climate change plan, he believes that by doing a different way of looking, building solar panels and doing those types of things, you can actually create 5 million jobs. It's like we call it the clean energy future, and he talks about it a lot on the campaign trail. So it's just yeah, it's just a way to have transition to clean, renewable energy, as we know. We've talked about that, and our reliance on fuel energy, and how doing these things, how when you create a way to have clean energy, you also are creating jobs as well. So it's all connected, and employment. So it's
Very nice.
yeah, it's a big priority of his, that he talks about. And by 2015, being independent.
Okay. And so our next question comes from Roger Shanthala of the state of Indiana, and is actually about, just like so many Indian Americans are business owners, there are also many Indian Americans who are physicians. So, Raju, are you there?
Yeah, Manish, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you, Karina. We also have a lot of Haiti population, people from, actually, we have a Indiana Haiti Association in Indianapolis.
Oh, wow.
So I represent USINPAC chapter Indiana. We have a lot of people involved here. We have a new mayor who's also Democrat. So I work in a healthcare industry. I am a speech language pathologist. My wife is a geriatric psychiatrist. So a lot of Indians also, many Indians, Americans, are physicians, are in the healthcare industry. At least 10% of the physician in the U.S. So I would like to ask you a question. Please discuss how Governor O'Malley's presidency would affect the healthcare industry, including with respect to medical practice, because that's where the lot of a certain percentage of the budget goes to the malpractice insurance, and which has been heavy on small practices. So I would like to ask you and see, and also we all in favor of caps on medical practice liability.
Yeah, and look, I totally as I mentioned, I was part of the administration's the first 2 years, and ACA was a big part of what we pushed forward and tried to, try to get into law, Affordable Care Act, under President Obama. So the governor has put together a full healthcare proposal, which is on the website, www.martino'malley.com. And one of the things that he truly believes in is that, the president has taken us, to a point where we have ACA, we have, affordable health care, but it still needs to go a little further. So he definitely wants to build on what Obama has done. And so he'll, his plan is, as president, he's looking to do that. And there's, and there, I think there's a lot to talk about, right? There's a lot of things that we need to do, finding an innovative way in paying for healthcare, and it's gonna take a lot of work. Part of that, he's talked about encourage states to adopt comprehensive payment reform, improve the value of Medicare, which is, as we know, really important, increase support of primary care. Another thing is use transparency and fair competition to make care more affordable, require clarity in healthcare billing and fairness for the uninsured, enforce antitrust law to encounter dramatic price increases. So there's a lot to discuss. Fight against corporate tax inversions, as it could be really expensive, especially with the pharmaceutical end of things. Ban price gouging for prescription drugs. So he has a lot in this plan that talks about, and also using reducing waste by empowering patients to use data and technology. So there's a lot of things that he's proposed in his plan and in his vision, and a lot of it is building from where we are with ACA and making it, taking it to the next level, making it better. One of the things that he's talking about is increasing the rate of insurance rate to 95% by 2020. So, like I said, it's building on Affordable Care Act to expand affordable coverage to more Americans. And so those are the things that he's talked about. And I think there's a lot more to there's a lot more work to be done, and he knows that. And so, like I said, we put together a healthcare plan, and it's pretty detailed. And so I'm happy to talk about it offline or at another time in more detail. Even bring on our policy person to discuss it.
Thank you. Actually, it's interesting that you mentioned about tax aversion specifically for the pharmaceutical industry, because we have a question from a member of ours that came through. He's actually an executive with a very large pharmaceutical company that's in the U.S. and abroad, and he actually was asking specifically about that issue.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to know, what are your thoughts on promoting pharmaceutical innovation and research and development in the U.S. so that, among other benefits, pharmaceutical companies may not take advantage of tax aversion policies that other countries might have, and instead of shifting their company headquarters to other countries that might have a more favorable tax structure.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that the governor has talked about is making sure that things don't get shipped out, and that we do have we give folks more of an opportunity here, and so I think one of the things he's talked about is fight the legislation, like Stopping Corporate Inversions Act, to close loopholes in companies to use game the tax code and avoid paying U.S. taxes. So that is something that he's talked about. Ban price gouging for prescription drugs. Stop the gouge, just like we stopped the gouging of gases during fuel shortage. It's like we shouldn't be doing the same with drugs. So those are the things. Those are the things that he has talked about along those lines.
So we're going to shift from some domestic issues to a couple foreign policy questions that we have from Sanjay Puri, who is our chairman and founder of our group in Washington, D.C. Sanjay? Still having a little bit of technical issues with.
Yeah, it's okay.
Right. Just give 5 seconds to.
Oh, he took off his headphones.
That might work.
Then maybe that works.
And let's see. Well, you know what? I'll actually ask this next one. It is so it's a foreign policy question, and India served as a role model in the world for having the second largest population of Muslims, and live relatively peacefully in a very tough neighborhood. And we have Afghanistan, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and they have their internal challenges that are very well known. Especially with regard to terrorism issues that come within each of those countries, and that have been exported in other countries as well. What are your thoughts on the role of India and the U.S. can play together in combating terrorism throughout the world, and specifically terror groups like ISIS?
Yep. So as mayor, the Governor O'Malley met with 24 heads of state. He discussed, as mayor and governor, he did that, and he discussed the Israeli-Palestinian conflict with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and data-driven government, and with Indian Prime Minister Modi. And so he's definitely had that experience and has definitely talked to heads of states and had in-depth conversations. So as governor, he's been able to sit down with them. When it comes to ISIL, ISIS, defeating ISIL, ISIS requires our military strength and diplomatic smarts. He definitely has said this, and at the debate and many debates and wherever he travels, like, this is very important to do, and he supports the president in his efforts to do that. Look, we need to contain and degrade ISIL. We need to work with our partners on the front lines. We need to cut off their funding. We need to stop their propaganda. We need to ensure that Iraqi government governs inclusively. So those are the things that he's talked about. This includes working with allies on the ground and improving human intelligence. So So yeah, so these are the things that the governor has talked about on the trail. You've heard him say this at the debates, the most recent debate in South Carolina. So he definitely thinks it's very important, and has talked about it.
Nice. And a follow-up question is that in recent weeks, actually, the Prime Minister Modi, who the governor has actually met in person and discussed these issues with. So he actually made a surprise visit to Pakistan to thaw relations, and he met with leaders there. It was very unexpected, was not publicized in advance. What are your views on that trip, as well as the challenges that face the U.S. and the world from Pakistan, and how U.S.-India relations would move forward under Martin O'Malley presidency? I know you touched on that a little bit just now, but just want to follow up.
Look, the governor served on the Council of Governors, co-chair for Defense and Homeland Security. He talked about that also on the recent debate. By doing this, he was working with U.S. Secretaries of Defense and Homeland Security to defend our country, our nation. He also served as co-chair of the National Governors Association Committee on Homeland Security and served as a U.S. Homeland Security Advisor Council. So he's definitely, I think, one of the things that he always says as governor, it's like you have to protect, right? You have to protect the state, and so you get to have these opportunities, as well to sit on these types of council and have these real conversations, because it's real, right? These things happen, and you need to be able to understand how are you going to protect the people that you represent. So he understands because of those experiences and because of those opportunities, he understands that our nation's values have made us different, and an inspiration to people around the world. He understands the kind of leadership that helps this nation benefit from change and not becoming victim to it. And so I believe as president, he's going to bring people together, as he always does, especially when it comes to difficult issues. He's managed to bring people both sides of the aisle come together and solve that large global problems that we face. So those are the things that he's talked about.
That's very interesting to have discussions with heads of state about these issues. Pretty wide range. Probably economic policies and also now, foreign policy. Okay.
Yeah.
And so our next question is from Mr. Vic Chauhan, who is from Washington, D.C., and it's about immigration. Vic, are you there?
Yes. Can you hear me, Manish?
Yes, we can.
Oh, great. Thanks, Manish. Thanks, Karine. Interesting about Governor O'Malley, about international affairs. So I'd like to just follow up on something that you said. You did say he knows Mr. Modi, and he did meet with Mr. Modi. Now, Mr. Modi, and we know about the U.S.-Israeli relationship, but I'd like to know what what do you think about President O'Malley's relationship versus in the Afghanistan-Pakistan area, especially in the India-Pakistan, let's call it relationship?
That's a very good question. So I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember if he's met with the heads. You know what? I'm actually not 100% sure. I'm trying to remember what he said about that. I know that he's met with several heads of states in the past several years, and I know he's done some trips out to the Middle East. I would have to follow up on that, just because I don't want to say the wrong thing. I just want to make sure.
It's basically, like Iran is a source of, like, so is Pakistan in the whole context, and the whole India-Pakistan and the U.S.-Pakistan-India relationship kind of thing. So what does he have to say about, and this is related to Afghanistan and Al-Qaeda and others.
No, I totally hear you. I honestly would have to. Foreign policy is not my forte.
Sure.
So I would
Okay.
get back to you on that one. But it's a very good question. I literally would have to get back to you on that about that.
Okay, so let me follow up another one about about the immigration policies. We've
Yeah,
heard a lot about Donald and his wall, and
yeah.
about things like the Muslims. And so, what does President O'Malley's immigration policies look like?
So I have to say, I mean, one of the things that the O'Malley has been called as a pro-immigrant candidate. You know, he is his immigration policy has been seen as the most progressive by a lot of immigration groups, the most progressive and the most forward-thinking immigration plan. And the thing that I love that the governor he says this all the time, which is, the United States is the enduring symbol of our nation is the Statue of Liberty, not the barbed wire fence. And if you saw the last debate, he was the first candidate to mention immigration. It wasn't even a topic. He mentioned it when they asked him, "Hey, what are the things that you feel like wasn't covered that you want to talk about?" The first thing he mentioned was immigration. Um, he was the first. He as governor, he welcomed refugee children from Central America. He passed driver's license for new Americans, and Maryland in Maryland, and the Dream Act as well in Maryland. He called for TPS for those currently fleeing, and the end of detention centers. He had dinner with DAPA family on the trail in Texas most recently. He stood with Dreamers outside the Sheriff's Joe's detention center in Arizona. Um, his goal is to bring those 11 million new Americans out of the shadows. And if we bring those new Americans into our system, then when you talk about lifting the economy, it's part of that is bringing in those new Americans and taking them out of the shadow and making them part of this country. And that's how you help our economy. He talks about that. These are all the things that he truly, truly believes. And so, he visited a mosque, was the first presidential candidate to do that, and to talk about, what the horrible things that the Republicans were saying about Muslims, about immigrants, about Mexicans. And so, I think he's had the strongest voice out of all the Democratic candidates on this issue, and has been hailed by folks on the Muslim community, folks in the Hispanic Latino community, as being someone who has had a strong voice and someone that they would love to see as their president. So when it comes to immigration, I there is no other candidate out there who has a stronger values, a stronger record, and has a vision forward on how to take the country forward when it comes to immigration. Is everyone still there? Hello?
Maybe Manish
Manish, did we lose you?
disconnect or
Manish, did we lose you?
yeah, we can hear you.
The problem with Manish's headphones, so he'll join in soon. Yeah, I think he's here.
Manish, can you
Hey,
speak?
Karine, could you ask a question?
Hello?
Oh, hi,
Manish?
could you hear the last question?
Oh, I did not hear the last question.
Oh, sure. Well, the last question actually was about, it was actually about education. In Americans
Okay.
place a strong emphasis on education, and we were wondering how Martin O'Malley presidency would affect issues with respect to education.
Yeah, so education is something that the governor, it's one of his records that I think in he's had a lot of strong issues that he's had a great record on, but education I think is one of the strongest. Um, Maryland under his reign as governor, Maryland public schools were number one in a row for 5 years. And he did this while investing in Maryland education and not raising costs. And I've met some of these students when we launched the campaign. I've met a couple of students who really benefited from what the governor did because if he did not freeze the tuition, some of them would never have been able to return to school and or to continue school. One young lady, unfortunately her father had died, and he was helping her with her education. And if that had not happened, if Governor O'Malley had not done that, she would not have been able to get her undergrad degree and then finish to get her master's degree. And so it was something that he was able to do during the recession, during the worst time, when people are taxing folks. He froze that. So that was really important. Two of his daughters who graduated college. One of them, his eldest daughter, is a teacher, which we see that he's very proud of. He's put together a debt-free college plan, so that when students get out of college, they don't have this. Not just the students, but the family doesn't have this debt that's following them around for 20 years, and that he believes the government needs to play a bigger role so that doesn't happen. Because when that happens, you lose a lot of. It's like a brain drain. You lose a lot of these young, smart people into. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with corporate America, but that's what they have to do in order to pay to pay their loans when they could, when they don't have to worry about that, they can give back and do public service work and not have to worry about loans. So this is something that he has a very strong record on. I've talked about immigration, education is another one, very, very strong record, and he really knows he brought both sides of the aisle together to really make education possible for people in the state.
Great. Well, thank you. And actually, our next question is from Raju in Indiana, who's wondering about kind of what separates your campaign and your candidate from the others. Raju?
Yep. Oh, that's the question. Okay. Yeah. So
Yes, that's from Raju in Indiana.
So I think and I asked that question for myself when I decided on which campaign I was going to work with and why. And I'm a huge believer in being passionate and believing who you're working for, because it's very, very important, especially when you think about the future of this country, when you think about your kids and what your kids are going to be left with. And I mean, plain and simple, the governor has 15 years of executive experience, and as we all know, being president of the United States, having executive experience is very, very important. He has bold, progressive ideas. He's a new leader, which I've mentioned earlier on in this conversation. And he knows how to be a progressive. He has a record. He knows how to bring bold ideas and get it done. And I think he can build on the Obama legacy, which is really, really important. We need when I say new leadership, we need someone to come in and do what the president has done and move us forward. And also, he's not a product of Washington. He's a governor. Governors know how to lead. They know how to be executives. and he's never been part of the Washington back and fight and what's happened and not being able to get anything done. He actually knows how to do that. And I think when you look at the other two candidates, while I respect both candidates, I think that's a big difference. You know, that is a big difference. That is very, very important. And it should be, should be analyzed and really looked at in a thoughtful way because it matters. I think it truly, truly matters.
So that's interesting. That's you let off saying that's why you ask yourself that question: what separates him from the others? And the answer to that is why you're involved. What about in USINPAC has plugged in volunteers to help out in current campaigns and past ones also, for past presidential elections.
Yeah,
for those who, so USINPAC has helped volunteers get involved with presidential campaigns both in 2016, the current election, and in prior ones as well. And so, for those listening in the audience, how would they get involved? What opportunities are there? Where are they? How do they find out about it?
Yeah, that'd be, we would love that. So the number one way to be involved and to help us out is in Iowa. The Iowa caucus is 2 weeks from yesterday, February 1st. The Iowa caucus is a very fun process. It's the first for the primary election. You gotta get through Iowa, and we've seen historically in the Democratic presidential primary, if you win Iowa, you pretty much are on your way to being the presidential nominee on the Democratic side. So Iowa has a strong importance. And so we feel that we're going to have some surprises that night. We're going to shock everybody. We're going to surprise everyone. So people want to come out. That's a great place to go. Go to Iowa. It's a great experience. It's learning how to caucus and getting out there and seeing how that all works is pretty insane and fun. And there's New Hampshire thereafter. New Hampshire's the primary. It will be the first primary in the 4 important early contests, and so that's another way to come out to New Hampshire and be helpful there. And that's, for us, that's if you want to volunteer, if you can afford it, if you want to, or you just want the experience, and or you have family there and you want to come out and just see how it all happens, how the magic happens. It's getting people out there in the states and helping our staff on the ground. And, getting the governor the win that we need.
Okay.
Are you watching yourself this morning or this afternoon?
We also were wondering a couple other questions that we had, just kind of following up on the immigration and small business items that we were talking about earlier. First off, when you talk about immigration, you mentioned the DREAM Act, and I believe the DREAM Act in Maryland, and I believe that Martin O'Malley was heavily involved in getting that bill passed in Maryland. The DREAM Act was a federal bill, and then
and then he fought it on the ballot. Like, he put money behind it to make sure that it was able to make it through the ballot. Yeah, this is when we talk about immigration, he not only that he make it happen. Push the bill and make it happen legislatively. He actually raised money to make these things happen as well. So most definitely, he's had a very progressive view, just a progressive record on this. For being in Maryland, south of the Mason line, and getting these types of things done ahead of other states. Some states have not even gotten this type of stuff done. I think it's very impressive. It's extremely impressive, especially at a time, you got to remember, in 2009, 2010, there was the crazy Tea Party happening. There was a recession. It was so much more difficult to get these types of progressive agendas done. And he was able to bring both sides of the aisle together. And he got pushback from his own folks in the party. So it's all very, that's the reality. And this is why I work with the man, because he knows how to get things done and he has a true record,
That's excellent. I think it's important for our audience to know that the DREAM Act, the acronym is Development, Relief, and Education for Alien Minors. And what's very unique about your governor's actions is that he actually, that's typically a federal issue, immigration, and he was able to, as a governor, able to push that, even though governors don't really have that ability. So that was very, very interesting that he focused on that. What about H-1B visas? And there's been a lot of debate about that and the effectiveness and how many should be actually issued and whether they should be issued to whom. Do you have any comments, or does the campaign have any policies on the H-1B visa program and where it sees it now, where it sees it going?
I don't think we've talked about that in detail, to be quite honest with you. I would have to come back on that one. We've not talked about that one. Oh, I can't hear you.
Extensively.
I'm sorry. I didn't hear that.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, great. Yeah, right. We've discussed immigration extensively. So, of course, I was a part of it, and maybe another policy person. So, I think that's actually really helpful. Do you have any kind of ending statements or things that you'd like the community to campaign and I know you said getting involved in Iowa and just why they should maybe support you?
Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to all of you. Really appreciate this time, and really hope that you guys take. I know you guys are nonpartisan. Totally understand that you're a PAC, but individually, I hope everyone just takes a look at all the candidates and really examine what's important to you, and look at who's actually gotten things done. Who's not just about talking, who's actually, we talk about actions, not words. We just don't say things or talk about things that we could potentially do. The governor actually has gotten them done. And I think that's really important in this type of political climate that we're in, where we see what's going on the Republican side. It's very scary. It's very discouraging. I think it's very disenfranchising too. I think that we need a leader that can really push us forward and not back. And I think Governor O'Malley is that person. When my friends and my families ask me, to tell them about Governor O'Malley, and I'm like, he's a real deal. He is the actual real deal. And I've worked for many, many elected officials. I've worked for many politicians, and he's by far one of my favorites. I enjoy talking to him, listening to him, and he speaks the truth. He really, really, truly does. So, I hope that everybody gets to see that and really examines each candidate, because everybody's vote counts. Your vote counts. It's important to go out and vote, and to keep your your electeds accountable. It's very, very important to do that.
Thank you. And I wanted to open up to the others on the line to see if they have any last remaining questions. I think we're good. And just so you know where the questions come from, the questions we actually email out to our database of 100,000 people, and we get comments back from issues important to them and questions they'd like asked, and so we kind of consolidated them all into this category. So we really appreciate your time, and hopefully let us know about events.
Yeah.
Sure.
I was going to say, I do want to get back to you on the foreign policy question. I'm not a foreign policy guru, but I really want to make sure you get that answer. So just let me know.
Oh, please do. And at the same time, you can provide maybe the website for how to get involved. What is that again?
www.martinO'Malley.com, and please check it out. A lot of this that I've been talking about today is on the website. It has all of our policies, and people have called all of our policies bold and transformative, and definitely you can see the new leadership in there and how we're going to move the country forward. And that is a one place that we truly have helped move the conversation along in this presidential, is by having these bold policies and forcing all the other candidates to do the same. So there's a lot there. So you should everybody should definitely check out the website, www.martinomalle.com.
Perfect, thank you. And to our attendees, thank you so much for joining. USINPAC will have, Governor O'Malley is a Democrat. We recently had discussions with Republicans as well. We'll continue to engage both parties. Thanks everybody for joining, and thank you again for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. My pleasure. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
The session has been disconnected.